Hello, friends. Welcome to HRA Geopolitics. Today, we want to cover the India-Pakistan standoff. Today, a dear guest is here, Shahje, my friend and foreign policy analyst and expertise, especially in South Asia policy affairs. And we want to give you some insights, what is happening in this India-Pakistan standoff, what is going, especially since yesterday, and the attack of the Indian army in Pakistani territory, and all of the claims about the shot down Indian planes from the Pakistani side. But let me begin to say hello, Shahje, welcome.
Hi, Haroon. It's a pleasure being here.
So after a long time, we were able to make some live session. We actually planned that for a long time, but on both sides we were busy. It is of course sad that we are partnering right now about a very dangerous situation with the India-Pakistan standoff. So let me begin with the first question, Shahje. Since the attacks of the Indian army inside of the Pakistani territory, if you remember, we made a space channel for 2 days ago before anything happened. And we were actually, discussing about that India this time will strike differently and waiting for its opportunity. Now they're claiming that they have, attacked 9 sites. I don't know if it's similar to the Balakot strikes for some years ago. We covered that video too, if you remember, to the clubhouse time. And my first question would be, how do you follow the things? What is happening? Especially you know the Pakistani side and claims. How do you see the situation?
How I see the situation is well, it's very interesting. There's an Indian perspective, there's a Pakistani perspective, and then there's a neutral perspective in terms of the region. And I think if we look at it from the Indian perspective, what you're going to see is that it's going to be from a prism of a country who is trying to expand and who's trying to garner some muscle in the region. If you look at it from the Pakistani perspective, what you'll see is that Pakistan is no doubt a developing country who has a very powerful army, and it does not consider itself to be a regional power, but more of a defense power for its own people and from people around it. And that's how it came into being. And then if we look at it from the regional perspective, what we'll see is that this region happens to be very volatile. On one side, you've got China. On the other side, you've got India. Then you have Pakistan. Pakistan connects to Afghanistan and Iran. So on the other side of India, you have Bangladesh, and again, the whole South China Sea and the back door of CPEC. So you have direct intervention of United States and China in this in this entire situation. So that's the crux of it.
Mm-hmm. And if I give you a follow-up question in that regard, because there are many things are debating right now in Turkey too. There are many claims about the reasons of this conflict, of this never-ending conflict, especially in the border region. Of course, one aspect of that problem is the Kashmir issue, what is not solved since decades and normally should be solved under the United Nations Security Council decision calling for a referendum. But I think we both know that will not happen easily. But there are also other aspects, like people are telling about the water issue between India and Pakistan. Is that really one of the most important things, or is it exaggerated? And there is another thing, calling it a standoff because the One Belt One Road project of China to disrupt it in the name of the United States and the larger Western hemisphere. What do you think? Is which one is the most important one, or is this problem a collective mix of all of this?
I think it's a collective mix of all of these things. And because it's a collective mix, some of those things are regional, some of those things have global impact. One of the things is the mineral reserves. What you'll find is Gilgit, Baltistan, Balochistan are like high in minerals right now. And one of the main deals which even Donald Trump wanted to strike with Ukraine was a mineral deal, and we're talking about similar kind of minerals in both of the regions. Then you've got the water issue, which is a more of a local issue. What is very interesting, and I would like your audience to basically have a look at this. When Pakistan was being created, or when the Brits decided to leave what is now known as the subcontinent, they left behind over 500 independent states. And the person who was able to get them to join the Union of India or the Federation of India was a guy called Vallabhbhai Patel, who managed to convince over 500 different uh, uh, princely princes of princely states to basically cede to India. But when it came to Kashmir, uh, Jalal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru. I can't pronounce his name because it's a bit,
Jawaharlal Nehru.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So him, he basically took that off the hands of Vallabhbhai Patel, and the reason why he basically excuse me, sorry about that. I don't know why this person's calling me. I've just messaged.
Yeah, always when you go live, they are coming.
Exactly. That is just so bad. But anyhow, so he- Nehru basically decided that he wants to take that himself, and he the conflict began, and it's very interesting that Muhammad Ali Jinnah asked the army of Pakistan to go and fight and take over that place because majority of people in Kashmir happened to be Muslims, and that was going to be the crux of the division. But the army refused, and they said, we are basically under the Brits, and it was General Gracie at the time. And so the Pakhtuns, or the people from the KPK region, were the ones who went and fought in that area. It wasn't the Pakistani army directly. So that's how this conflict began. Now, the interesting part is Nehru did not manage to get Kashmir to cede completely with India in that way either. And he stopped. He could have gone further, but he stopped at a very strategic location, and that is where the main thing is. If the LOC, the line of control, and this is why I gave a brief background, if the LOC would have been 25, 30 kilometers deeper into India, Pakistan would have not been dependent on India's water. If, for instance, the LOC would have come 50 miles or so forward into Pakistan, in that case, India would have had direct access to Central Asia. So this was a very, very interesting place to basically stop. So that there is a stalemate situation because of that. Now, in India cannot let go of that area because obviously it is of a strategic position, even though the people of Kashmir do not like them in any way or form, even if they don't want to be with them. They basically, vast majority of them would want an independent state, and same goes for Pakistan. Pakistan, if I'm neutral, would absolutely have would be a strategic death for Pakistan if they were to let go of the Kashmir they have right now. So that's the basis of it. Then
Mhm.
comes the minerals part. Okay, I don't know why this. I've just turned this off. S- I have turned this off, and yet it still rings. But anyhow, yeah.
So
So
it is a collective thing, like you say. There is some religious part, of course, in this. There is an ethnic part in this. There are the issue with minerals. There are the issue, like you explained, with the water problem on both sides, and also the strategic positioning, especially when India can have the part for positioning themselves not only in South Asia but also a kind of in Central Asia. But of course, there is a third disruptive powerhouse over there, China. Do you think that China has any part right now in what is happening?
yeah, of course, China has, if you look at the One Road, One Belt initiative, the Pakistan section is basically referred to as CPEC, China Pakistan Economic Corridor. You will see that it begins from what is known as the Gwadar port in the heart of Balochistan, and it goes all the way through Pakistan, through the Pakistani Azad Kashmir, the Free Kashmir, as we like to refer to it as. And if, for instance, that was ceded towards India, then China would lose that backdoor. So again, if you look at the global geopolitical situation, what you'll find is that in the South China Sea, China is having a lot of trouble, and this is one of the back doors which is necessary for China to survive.
Mhm. Okay. There is a question, interesting question. For example, one of the followers, Abdul Qadir, has asked, what would be the stance of the new government in Bangladesh in a potential India-Pakistan war? Because there were some analysts even in Turkey on social media claiming that because Bangladesh has removed Hasina from the power and the new government with anti-India stance is there, that they are getting closer with Pakistan and maybe even joining the war. I mean, from my perspective, it's a bit exaggerated commentary. But what do you think? How the Bangladeshi stance would be if this escalation is growing even more intense?
And this is a very interesting one, and Bangladesh is a very interesting country in the recent past. First, they decided that they want to be part of Pakistan because their Islamic identity they assumed, just like what is known as Pakistan today is going to be undermined, and they would rather be independent. Then, when they felt that their national identity or their ethnic identity was under attack, they took a stand for that. And in recent times, when they saw what was happening within India and how India was influencing them, they stood up for their Islamic identity and their sovereignty yet again against the Indians this time. And what's very interesting, if you connect all these things, it's not people siding with Pakistan. It's not Bangladesh siding with Pakistan in this case. It's India not being able to decide who is Pakistani or the difference between Pakistanis and Muslims. And that is where the problem is. If you just look at Kashmir, for example, they basically made it part of the Union territory. They basically said Kashmir and Kashmiris belong to us. They're Indian citizens. But then every time something happens, they want to boycott them. they want to create it, or basically say that Kashmiris are basically not part of India. Let's boycott them. These people did. If there was a terror attack, no doubt about that, and nobody condones a terror attack. We condemn that. Everyone does, and I'm sure majority of Kashmiris do that. But having said that, to target a entire province of people who you want to be part of your country, and then you want to economically boycott them, if that was not enough, if you look at what's happened in the recent past, in a case of the Waqf board within India, this mainland India, not Kashmir, what you will realize is that they're leaving no stone unturned in terms of otherizing the Muslims. 250 million of them, more than the population of Pakistan and Bangladesh, respectfully, uh, as outsiders. So when we look or listen to some of their analysts and some of their politicians, it's astonishing. They talk about a 3.5 front war, one front
Mhm.
being China, one front being Pakistan, one front being Bangladesh, and the point five being the Pakistan within their own country. They're referring to their own Muslims. So that's where the Bangladeshi thing comes in. There
So
were
you see then actually not the problem directly coming from Bangladesh, but how the Indian foreign policy or the Indian perspective is positioning itself, right?
mm,
They are they are talking always about the issue like they are surrounded with enemies. That became a popular thing in the last months
mm,
as a subject in India, right?
mm. Like for instance, when the Waqf riots happened last month, west of Bengal was on fire. People can go and search. There were riots. It was all over the pages. It was national news, and the Indians blamed it on Bangladesh.
Mm, yes.
So the thing is, if you're going to keep blaming your own faults or mishaps, or your own people getting angry because they're dissatisfied by you on your neighbors, then at some stage those neighbors are going to react, whether it's Pakistan or Bangladesh.
Mhm. I get it. And the of course, especially this rhetoric, what we are talking, what is spoken in India in the last months and even years after the new regime coming on 2014, the BJP, whose leader and president is Modi right now in India. This all rhetoric. There is also the question now from Alishan. He is asking, would India be concerned about domestic Muslim community? This question we will talk accept any religious stance or something, not that anyone is understanding wrong, but there is of course this one of the subjects is the religious issue going also inside of India. So do you think that with exaggerated claims in the last time after the attack, that was also the issue back in 2019 after the Pulwama attack, right? So the blaming of the Indian Muslims who actually resisted to go to a new Islamic nation, maybe created as Pakistan, and still feel themselves as Indians. But there is this push against them, like in every issue, as like they are siding with Pakistan. Despite the fact I'm knowing many Indian Muslim friends, I know they are very proud, Indian patriots. But still, there is this, issue going. This social media experiments like putting Pakistani flags on the ground and then, filming people if they will pick up and then blaming them. Look, they are picking up these flags, so they are Pakistani supporters. All Muslims are one. So, do you think this will create uh, another tension inside of India that the Muslims slowly separating themselves?
I think that's already kind of begun, and if you look at it, I think it was when Muslims have in 2019 were asked to prove how many generations and what backgrounds they're from within India, came into existence. On there was a minister on quote who basically said, when a journalist asked that person, that India is supposed to be equal and it's supposed to be a democracy, and he said yes, differently equal, different categories of equal. They are citizens, but they have to be of a different category. That explain those sentences, those subtle differences, do explain a lot. And we're not talking about some kind of a immigrant population over here. We're speaking about people who've been there, who are not even outsiders. I don't know if, for example, that there is no cohesion and they're left like that, it can't be good for them. And they're not such a small minority. 250 million is a lot of people. I think there would be a backlash, and that backlash, how further into, obviously, if there is a backlash, then that backlash will be supported naturally, and India must think about that, naturally be supported by Bangladesh, by Pakistan, by Afghanistan, not because of their nationalities, but even by Turkey, Iran, Saudi Arabia, people around the globe, because we share an identity, we share a religious identity, and obviously, whether we're religious or not, we do have that sentiment, and India needs to be very careful in regards to that. That can be a very devastating thing for India in the long run.
So you mean actually India is not only having problems around its borders with the neighbors, but at the same time, when it needs the most unity inside of its country, especially in these kind of, where there is so much tension, they are doing the opposite, right? They are alienating their own citizens, be it on a Muslim basis or Sikh basis, or even through ethnicity and language problems, where they are trying to implement, for example, everywhere one language like Hindi. We talked with you about this situation a lot. So actually, that is not the thing like some, Indian nationalists are saying, coming from Pakistan with any intelligence work, but they are doing it by themselves, right? I mean, these whole tangents with their ethnicity and religion-based situation.
Exactly, and one of the things which they talk about is that our country was divided in 1947, and it should have not been divided. But now that it is divided, it should we should have gotten rid of every last Muslim. The division did not happen correctly, and there were people left behind. But what they're forgetting is, if those people who were left behind, a huge percentage, they chose India in many cases. If they had decided not to join India, Pakistan would have been a much, much bigger country right now. And we'd have been in a very different position. I think there are notes in the British Parliament's archives where Mountbatten talks about this, that somehow the division has to be created in on these grounds. Otherwise, there are going to be enclaves within India, which would then disintegrate into a lot of places where there would be Pakistans within India. So that's something which India should be thankful to, to its Muslims for staying behind.
Mhm. Thank you, Shahji. When we come back to the recent situation, there are also questions that is also in my mind. Unite Forever is asking, when Pakistan offered to investigate the case, what was the answer for the Indian officials? I can extend this question like this. There is always this debate that India is blaming Pakistan that some kind of terrorists, what they are saying, are infiltrating the Kashmir and other border regions from Pakistan, and sometimes they're blaming, indirectly or directly, Pakistan is behind this. But after many attacks, I remember, or situations, Pakistan always are using the narrative, let's, check the situation, what is behind, let's work together, and offering this also to the international community. But the India stance is no, we will figure it on our own, or if there is anything, I will speak only to you, to no one else. So right now, if I remember, after the attack, the Pakistani officials, offered this the same, and even, asked maybe the United Nations can help in this. I know they have rejected it again. What is the real reason? There is something that they hide, or is it because of their pride about the situation, not to involve anyone?
I can only give my opinion on
Yeah,
those regards. As far as I read it, for the last 5 or 6 years, Indian government basically told everyone the Kashmir issue has been resolved. They carried out the G20 summit over there. They carried out various fashion shows. It was open for tourism, and it was being advertised as a very normal place. Now, this was one of the feathers in the current regime's crown. It was something which they played on, and it was something which they were basically promoting and giving examples to even Israel. Look how we controlled
Mhm.
Kashmir. Now, the thing is, if it was found, which it will be found at some stage. And a lot of influencers are going into Kashmir now and they're asking the locals. Kashmiri people are not happy. For whatever reasons, Kashmiri people are not happy. They're not happy being part of India. They're not happy, even if they want to remain Indians, they want more freedom than they currently have. And this issue, if it turns out to be local and not no Pakistan involvement is proved, then it basically just throws away the entire situation in that way, and it makes the Modi government look really bad.
Because the Modi government, when they have, abolished the 370 article, as I remember, right, about the special freedoms of Kashmir, what was engraved in the Indian constitution. I remember it was 2019 or 2020, and there was a lot of debate. Yes, I agree. There was this advertisement since then. Look, we have abolished it. Now it's a union territory, and it's directly connected to Delhi, and everything is fine. The whole world is coming here. Tourism is happening here. That is also the interesting part. The anti-attacks I remember from the terror organization Lashkar-e-Taiba, that they always, attacked mainly, except the 2008 issue, of course, the Mumbai things, better maybe about the situation historically. But their main focus was to attack military convoys and military installations. And this time, the attack was directly on civilians and tourists. Do you think there is some conspiracy? Because there is also on debate.
Well, India blames Pakistan for it. I don't see how Pakistan would benefit from it. And Pakistanis say it was a false flag from the Indians. But I don't see any benefit which the Indian government would get out of that. I think it just has kind of taken air out of their bubble. I think it's a local issue. It's one of those bad situations where somebody went out and carried out a terror attack locally. They must have been, in my opinion, local people. And to admit that is very, very weird, very hard for the Modi government and the Indian people to digest the fact that they fought that Kashmiris, and we've kind of integrated them, and that issue is past us. So much so that the, I'm sure you must have seen the picture of that lady sitting on neck beside her dead husband's body.
Yes, yes.
And when that came out, her name was Himanshi. So she became a sensation overnight for the Hindutva Brigade, the RSS, Hindu right wingers, and she was being plastered everywhere. 2 days on, she comes on TV and she basically says that I do not promote Muslim hate. Neither was my husband somebody who basically hated Muslims, even though he was an army personnel. So I would request the public not to make it a Hindu Muslim issue. It's not a religious issue. But as a result, they insulted her. They started threatening her. You can see this is a woman who's just lost her husband to a terror attack. There's no doubt about that. And 2 days ago, she was your hero, and now 2 days later, you're abusing her, calling her all kinds of names, and a situation like that. So they want to turn it into an anti-Muslim thing. They want to.
Yeah, so actually, whatever fits their narrative is the issue with the Indian government right now,
Mm.
as you explained. The narrative changes very fast when your arguments are not fitting into the context. The same happened, for example, directly after the attack. There was a live session on the street for important Indian news channel, and the lady was asking the people, the original Kashmiri people, and there was a guy who was directly speaking like, "Stop to terrorizing us and stop to do like we are directly involved. We want to feed our families, and tourism is the most important thing where we can earn our bread." And he was begging her like why we should do and shoot in our own feet, but she was not listening. So most of the people were telling the same. So also this narrative as like all of the people in Kashmir Valley are involved into this kind of acts. And yes, of course, they are not agreeing with the ruling on Kashmir, but they're not all, financing or materially supporting and going to attack someone.
Mm.
These people are living off on these, tourism. So that I remember this interview, and it was really sad. She was pushing all the time, and that is the narrative what all the media channels close to the government are using.
Of course. Yeah. And I think that is what's more destabilizing for India in the long run, because you can only blame so much. And if you think about it, they're coming back to the attack which they carried out yesterday in Pakistan. Today, their press release came out, and they accepted that they basically went into 9 places, or there were 9 attacks in 8 locations. I think there was one location where they attacked twice. Uh, they basically said that very, very, very clearly, that we did not hit any military establishment. We did not hit any civilian sites. We basically hit these terror places, which was a mosque apparently, and but the intention, if we look at the intention, it is that they do not want this to further escalate. If because they just basically want to calm down their public, who they had overhyped after their terror attack, blamed it on Pakistan in that way. Because I think Indians do realize, in the long run, if there was a full-fledged war, the kind of fragmentation and fault lines which exist not just in their own country, but also in Pakistan, all the way up till Afghanistan, from Afghanistan into Iran and Tajikistan. This has a potential of something which can really harm India.
Yeah.
This can open a war front which goes through these regions. TTP or Taliban at this point in time are not have not reached as far as India. If tomorrow Pakistan was not a buffer for India in that way, then Taliban would become India's problem. The
Yeah.
TTP would want to expand into India as well, not just remain in Pakistan.
Yeah. Yeah, if we know their targets and how their belief is, especially in a Salafi context, Salafi extremist context, what their actual targets are really dangerous ideas. But actually, always the Indian, ultra nationalists are telling about Muslims and blaming everyone. Not all Muslims are the same, but yes, they're describing actually TTP.
Mm,
So tomorrow it will be their problem. I agree.
mm.
So when we come back to the recent situation, there were a lot of talk yesterday that, especially the skirmishes happening on the border, uh, that some accounts, as I know, have announced that Pakistan has shot down Indian jet fighter, especially Rafale and Su-30, they were calling. Could you confirm this information? Because there are, many different perspectives sharing this. The Indians, like always, saying no, that not happening, and they are circulating some videos and pictures. What do you think about the situation? It happened really? Could you confirm this about over Pakistan?
So, as far as the Pakistani official authorities are concerned, they've shot down 5 planes and 1 drone. Uh, as far as the Indians are concerned, they have confirmed that 3 of their planes have crashed, and they haven't come up with the figures of the other 3, but they haven't kind of said that they were shot down. So that's how far we've got until now. Raphael has been confirmed as one of the planes which has been lost by France themselves so far. But
Mhm.
it seems like since yesterday to now, the um, confirmations of what the Pakistanis announced in terms of takedown of the aircrafts have been coming true and slowly are becoming a reality. Interesting fact is that there is circulating news of Afridi, Lieutenant Afridi, who has been accredited to take down all 5 and also the drone down. So it's been done by one person who's not.
Okay, okay. So the narrative is going to the direction that it was one fighter jet and one pilot that uh, did that. Okay, of course we must wait, because whenever
Yeah,
there
we
is
have to
tension,
wait and see.
yeah, because whenever there is tension between Pakistan and India, there is lots of disinformation, as you know, on social media. Everyone is sharing something, and whenever something happens, it takes time until the authorities come out and say, yes, it happened. Because it's also a pride issue, and sometimes they need to investigate. So I'm telling everyone, wait until really the whole fire is gone and we know what happened. But when you
Mm.
say,
I,
okay,
I,
the
I,
official,
I
yeah.
agree, but I want to add. So I completely agree. We need to wait. We do understand 3 planes have crashed. Were they
Mhm,
shot or not? Pakistanis say they were shot.
mhm.
Indians have stated they crashed. Two Pakistanis claim 2 more. We don't know what's up with that. Will they be found or not? And there's apparently 1 drone, but time will tell. Let's see.
Yeah, I think in the next coming days, it will be more clear because the same happened after the Balakot strikes, if you remember. And it took days, like the Indian side was saying, no, we shot down two of them. And the Pakistani side were saying, until all of this pilot and the whole narrative about T's fantastic issue came out with Abhinandan. And yeah, then it was confirmed. It needs, of course, some time. So let's look if there is some uh, important question. And after that, we can close the program because I promised you half an hour. Sorry for that, but it was
No, no,
really
it's fine.
nice conversation and informative. So there is also again a question from Salvi. He was saying, let me look at it. Yeah, that is an internal thing because we spoke about the Muslim community and the tensions inside of India. And Selvi was asking about would the followers of Mirza Ghulam Ahmed, he means the Ahmadis, as I've understood. Most probably a reverse question if these conflicts can also accelerate the tensions inside of Pakistan. What do you think? Because the
Yeah,
Indians are also scratching a bit the Balochistan issue, you know. Uh,
I think I might be ignorant, but I think the Ahmadi issue is like overhyped. There's not many of them. It is a community who has a lot of money, but I think with money you require a lot of support, and the Pakistani people completely despise them to an extent that they would not side with them. It's not like Shiites and Sunnis where there can be cohesion that they belong to uh, a sect of Islam. When it comes to these people, neither the Shiites or the Sunnis or even Salafis would basically provide them any support. But in terms of friction within Pakistan, there are fault lines. There is Shia and Sunni fault line. There's a Baloch, Punjab, a Farsi Ban, Pakhtun, a fault line as well, a Sindhi fault line as well, where some elements of nationalism do exist, but how far they exist uh, in Pakhtunkhwa they don't exist to
mhm.
the extent where people try and portray it. Same with Punjab, they are Punjabi nationalists are not to the same extent. In Sindh, the proportion is a bit higher, and the highest happens to be in Balochistan.
Hmm. Okay, I understand. There are some frictions, you say, also inside of Pakistan, but we come back to the main question actually at the begin. Yeah, there are frictions, but the question must be for India. What is the end result when there is no Pakistan between? You will have also the same frictions and problems inside your country, or especially what, for example, Turkey has faced what happened in Syria right now, over all the years, the refugee influx, etc. And India still today has not solved the Bengal issue, right? With the Bengali refugees coming after the 71 war. So, to wishing some frictions inside of your enemy is something, especially when your neighbor also a problem that you actually inviting into your own territory. So it's not wise for both sides to playing this card, I think. Shahji, really thank you
I
very
would
much.
like to add
Your
to
time and your efforts on you.
and words, and I would also like to add something to the previous thing. The region which is today Pakistan and Afghanistan have been the corridors from where India has been invaded when there was no border. And if tomorrow that happens again, with so many Muslims inside, it would become a huge catastrophe, which I don't think would be easy for India to deal with. And I think I'll close off by saying thank you, Harun. Let's see how this story basically develops. And so far, I think India is hoping that it doesn't escalate further from where it has, because it would basically cause it trouble. It is not in an economic uh, uh, situation where it can afford to do that, because it is looking to go to the next step. It wants to become an economic global power, and a country at war cannot basically achieve that. So they've got a lot more to lose than I think Pakistan or even Bangladesh or China at this stage.
Thank you very much again, Shahje. Of course, our wish and my personal wish is that this escalation stands here still and don't further escalate, because we are speaking about two nuclear armed states. And if it goes further, maybe even dragging the Chinese powerhouse, another nuclear armed state. So it is very important to people to know who are playing on social media with war jingoism, to know that this issue is not something what we are facing in Eastern Europe or anywhere in Middle East. We are talking about huge powerhouse militaries with immense power and nuclear and billions of population. So it's very dangerous to play with the fire. And we hope that these two nations can solve their issues diplomatically. And that is my wish and prayer. We will, of course, closely follow the situation. When there is anything new, we will come up again with another program when Shahje has time. Thank you very much for listening. Don't forget to follow HRA Geopolitics. We will continue to do programs in Turkish and English about foreign policy around the globe. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Shahje. See you guys later.